Broccoli is unsurpassed as a sponge for sauce, and God, I love a sweet, glossy Chinese-American restaurant-style garlic sauce. This is a really easy and cheap meatless meal. Incidentally, vegan, the way I'm gonna do it. Please don't take this as traditional Chinese. This is just me riffing off of the strip mall restaurant classic I love. First thing is get like half a cup of rice going, 100 grams. That's enough for me and Lauren, but you might want more. Wash and drain. A few times to get off the free starch coat if you want fluffy Chinese-style steamed rice. I'll throw in like 1.75 times the rice volume in plain water. No salt for this style of rice. Heat on high, and today I'm trying this method I've heard of where you don't cover it at first. You just bring it to a boil and let it cook until the surface gets pockmarked like that. The rice is peeking up above the water level. Now you cover, take the heat down, and let it steam for like 15 minutes, or really until this dinner is ready. It'll be quick. It's a garlic sauce, so 3 to 4 cloves of garlic peeled, and I'll peel a little thumb of ginger, about as much as the garlic. I always start by slicing ginger across its fibers against the grain. That makes it easier to chop fine later. And you could skip this, but I'm doing a little fresh chili, maybe half of it. Chop all that up pretty fine. Man, does that combination smell good. In a little dish and set that aside. My beloved Chrissy Teigen pan. It's a steep-sided saute pan. If you don't have something like this, I would use like a little soup pot or a Dutch oven. You need something tall with a lid. Just an inch of water in there, and these expandable steamer baskets are the best. They're cheap, they're compact, and they fit any pan. Lid on, heat on high. If you don't have a steamer, you could boil the broccoli instead of steaming it. One medium to large crown like this will feed two. Stand it upside down, and that way it's really easy to go around and cut off perfect little florets. Once you get down to the tip, the individual florets are too small, so I just cut off the whole thing and trim it into like 3 or 4 bites. The stem you can cut into slices and cook with everything else, or not. Then it's just a matter of cutting the biggest of these in half or maybe thirds. Bigger pieces will look prettier, and remember they're going to shrink a bit, so I say go big. Water is boiling, so in goes all the broccoli. You can pile it high in the basket. The steam will come up through everything. Cover and cook, in my opinion, just 3 minutes. That's just enough time to fill a big bowl with water and chuck in some ice cubes. I want to pull these before they are fork tender, though you can use a fork to lift out the whole basket and sploosh into the ice bath. Stir it around until every piece is cooled off. Blanching and shocking like this is really popular in restaurants because we have deactivated the enzymes that turn green into brown. The texture is one tiny step away from perfect, and it'll stay perfect in the water there for hours if you need it to. We have zero rush now. We are going to need like a cup of water or stock for the sauce, and hey, I've got this broccoli water right here. I'll admit it's not the best brew I've ever had. Morning Brew is way better, the sponsor of this video. Morning Brew is a free daily newsletter covering the latest in business, finance, and tech. I've been waking up to it for a year. They give you your stocks and briefly explain what the numbers actually mean. Then it's just super tight story summaries that respect your time and intelligence. Often funny. Facebook, but for your face. Seriously, Facebook is making Ray-Bans with computers in them? Ooh, a food story. JP Morgan is buying Zagat, which is basically the American Michelin Guide. I guess bankers love restaurants, and I love how Morning Brew bullets out all this text, making it skimmable. I'm read up in 5 minutes. It takes 15 seconds to sign up for Morning Brew with my link in the description. It's totally free. There's no catch. Just use my link. Thank you, Morning Brew. All the water is out of my pan, so I can put the heat back on like medium, and there's my sauce ingredients. Just a little plain old cooking oil, just a film, just to fry the garlic, chili, and ginger for a minute, just until it's soft and starting to go golden. Before it burns, in goes the 240 mils or 1 cup of water, broccoli water. Could be plain water, could be stock, but I don't think stock would make a big difference with all these much stronger flavors going in. I'm using like a teaspoon of onion powder, not necessary, but nice. Definitely need the soy sauce. I'll start with like a 1/4 cup, 60 mils. Most Chinese garlic sauce recipes call for vinegar, and some call for ground mustard seed. Well, guess what this is? A couple of teaspoons of any tangy mustard. Traditionally, you'd get more umami and some gooey texture from a giant glug of oyster sauce. Yes, it really is made with oysters. You could do that, or a fish sauce. I'm going to go back to my old British buddy Marmite. A giant spoonful of this. It's a yeast extract, so it's vegan if you're into that. It's really nutritious. It's got your B vitamins that are hard to find without animal products. It brings a wallop of umami and tons of glossy gelato gelatinous texture. I love this as a sauce ingredient. Just don't expect me to spread it on my toast, Brits. Time for sugar. The oyster sauce would have brought sugar, and most garlic sauce recipes call for even more, some honey or some brown sugar. I'm starting with like a tablespoon of white sugar and a glug of molasses, because sugar plus molasses is all brown sugar is, and I actually want more molasses than is normally in brown sugar. I swear this sauce will not taste like a gingerbread house. It's going to taste like Chinese food. A teaspoon or two of toasted sesame oil just for flavor, very strong stuff. I tried putting this in at the beginning and frying the garlic mixture in it, and it burned every time. It made the sauce bitter. Save it to the end. I'll grind in some pepper. You can maybe do a little dash of Chinese 5-spice if you have it. Time for thickener, cornstarch or any refined starch, maybe a couple of tablespoons. Whoops, that's a little too much, but it's good to have some extra ready to go and mixed into a slurry. Put in just enough cool water to where you can dissolve it by smashing it up with your finger. Well, technically it's not dissolving. The starch granules are merely dispersing through the water, and they'll sink down to the bottom if you let this sit for more than a minute. Okay, sauce is simmering. One hand stirs while the other hand drizzles in the slurry. If you don't stir as you drizzle, you'll get giant starch globs that'll be really hard to break up. And if you just threw dry cornstarch in the pan, it'd instantly form huge lumps. I'll hold the rest of my slurry in reserve there. That may seem extremely thick already, but we can always water it down, and the broccoli is going to release some water into this and thin it out. Heat down. The sauce can very easily stick to the bottom and burn when it's this thick. Have a taste, and remember this needs to be strong enough and salty enough to flavor itself, all the broccoli, and all that plain unseasoned rice. It should be too sweet, too sour, too salty, too umami-y. I'm going to reach for some good old MSG. That's the brand name that it's sold under here in the States, Accent. This is the traditional thing. You could put in plain salt if you want, but either way, get the sauce really salty. If it needs more acid, put in more mustard or vinegar. If it needs more sugar, do it. All we got to do now is reheat the broccoli. I'll gather that up, wring out as much water as I reasonably can, and in it goes. It'll cook and soften that last little bit that it needs as it warms up in here and gets coated. Yeah, that sauce is too thick. Just splash in some water. Not too much. I still want it pretty gloopy. I don't know. I'm not sold on this bring the rice to a boil uncovered thing. That's pretty dry. Maybe I should have started with more water? Nah, it's fine. Notice how bright green the broccoli is, and it's going to stay that way for a while because we blanched and shocked it. If we had just stir-fried it, it'd be gray by now, and I think steamed broccoli has a brighter, fresher flavor. Got to spoon over that excess sauce to flavor the rice, and if you have some whole sesame seeds in the cupboard, hey, why not? I think broccoli is totally substantial and meaty enough to be a main ingredient if you don't overcook it, if it still has a lot of snap. Really satisfying to bite into, especially when it's coated in meaty sugar glaze, meatless meaty sugar glaze at that.